Hey there, Sherilyn. Jeff Carr here. I really enjoyed reading your post, especially about sampling and populations and about the different kind of external factors that can impact that. And of course, populations and samples can be really tricky because generalizability can become very complex depending on your sample, or your population too, because the larger your population, sometimes the easier it is to get a sample. However, it's all about specificity and all of the other factors that you talked about. You talk about the different factors that contribute to the skewness and to the things that reduce sampling error. Everything from where does the sample come from. I liked your example that if you're trying to talk about intimate partner violence, that if you're trying to get your sample from shelters where people are more likely to have experienced intimate partner violence, then yes, your generalizability is going to be high to that sample, but it's also going to be skewed. It's kind of like an unbiased versus a biased result in your sampling, but also in your responses. And then you also think about how random is your sample, which also goes back to the different demographics you were talking about and how important they are because context matters. And the IPV rates for different ethnicities and genders and age groups and where in town do they live and how long have they been there. A lot of different factors can play into this, and while it's not necessarily important to account for every single possible factor, because then we're talking about exponential extraneous variables that are just really hard to account for. However, we have to remember when we're doing research, especially human subject research, that the more specific we are about the population we're trying to reach, then that makes the population go down. So the more specific you get, the less amount of population you have to work with. Because there's a difference between males in Austin, Texas, and it gets smaller and smaller when you start saying things like males between 18 and 25. And then it gets even smaller when you start working with ethnicities. African American and Caucasian males, 18 to 25, who are attending college. I mean, the more specific you get, the population goes down. And when the population goes down, that actually starts to reduce the likelihood of sampling error, but that also means that it can also decrease your sample size. But that also means the more specific you get, and the more specific you get, and sometimes small sample sizes can be better generalized to the larger population as long as you have a decreased sampling error and as long as you're accounting for all of those different factors and making sure that your response rates stay high in your low sampling rates. I hope all that makes sense. If not, then I apologize. So, like I said, I really enjoyed your post, and I look forward to hearing more from you.